Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Deciding to Soar, Living Life Your Own Way. I'm Sharon Jamison, and I am so grateful for your time, for your energy, for your presence. I know I say it every episode, but I am truly grateful because I know that there are many places where you can be. So I'm grateful that you're here. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate your energy and I appreciate your presence. So welcome. Well, today I really want to delve into a topic called self empowerment. Because this week, as I have been meeting with my clients and speaking with organizations, I'm noticing that we don't talk enough about self empowerment. But self empowerment to me is not just a nice idea. It is the foundation of everything that we do. It is the foundation that helps us make choices that align with our truth. It helps us speak up for ourselves instead of shrinking. It helps us trust ourselves so we're not second guessing ourselves. And we need to stay empowered because when we feel empowered, we determine how we will show up in relationships. It determines how we show up as citizens in our communities. It determines how we show up at work and dictates how we lead, how we take risk, how we build businesses, how we assign meaning to different aspects of our lives, and how we assign meaning to what's important to us. In other words, it helps us establish our values and our needs and our actions. And so today I want to talk about 4 forms of self-empowerment that shape our lives and influence our decisions. So 4 forms of self-empowerment. So if you have something to take down notes, I really want you to walk through this episode with me and to think about how are these 4 different forms of self-empowerment, how are they showing up in your life? And if they are not showing up in your life, how can you activate these 4 forms in ways that bring meaning, that bring structure, and that bring purpose to your life? The first form of self-empowerment that I want you to write down is self-advocacy. Self-advocacy. And self-advocacy is the ability and the willingness to recognize, communicate, and claim what you need without guilt, without hesitation, or without waiting for validation. Self-advocacy. And we need to advocate for ourselves because if you don't advocate for yourself, you will train the world to ignore your needs. You will train the world that you are invisible. And when we think about self-advocacy, it's something that we have to do daily because how you advocate for yourself really is a sign of how worthy you feel that you are. And so I want you to really think about, are you advocating for your needs? Are you owning your voice? And do you have the clarity, which is knowing what you need, and the courage, that means being able to ask for what you need, to ensure that you live a life that aligns with who you are? So self-advocacy is owning your voice, owning your needs, is claiming what you need without guilt, hesitation, or without waiting for validation. Now, here's the good news. When we do self-advocacy well, we will command respect in our relationships and in our workplaces and in our places of worship. We will set boundaries that prevent us from becoming resentful. It will help us set boundaries so we don't burn out. It will also reinforce our self-worth because we will be treating our voice as valuable. We will understand that our purpose is priceless. Now, here's the challenge. When we don't do self-advocacy well, we feel invisible. We feel unheard. We often feel taken advantage of. We also sometimes will fear rejection, and we will silence our voice and not tell people what we need and then get angry when they don't give it to us. We become resentful because we start to think that people should read our minds. And this is so interesting because I had a client this week and she gave me permission to share her story that she accepted a new job and she didn't negotiate her salary and she felt resentful. But I had another client who really advocated for herself. She negotiated her salary because she knew her worth, she knew her value, and when the company did not give her what she wanted, she walked away. So those are two examples. So I want you to really think about how you are showing up in the world so that you are not staying silent and you are not allowing people to overstep your boundaries, and also so that you understand that confrontation is healthy. Many times we don't advocate for ourselves because we don't want to get into places or experience confrontation. Confrontation is healthy because if you don't confront people and challenge theories and practices, you will not be heard, you will not be seen, and you will live a world of lack and limitation. So self-advocacy is a very important form of self-empowerment. The second form of self-empowerment that I want to note is self-definition. And self-definition is the ongoing process of deciding who you are based on your truth. And it's based on what you feel. It doesn't matter what society feels. It's not based on what your family has taught you. It's not based on your past conditioning. Self-definition is based on your truth. Now, when we think about self-definition, because we are defining who we are, it's important that we know that we're going to have to unlearn some things. We're going to have to unlearn limiting beliefs. We're going to have to unlearn policies and practices and traditions and habits and patterns that undermine our truth. We are going to be forced to rewrite our own narratives. We are going to have the opportunity to choose our identities and our values and our purpose. And it's important to note that self-definition is fluid because as we grow, we might redefine something. We might put something higher on our list or prioritize something higher on our list of life needs. Or we might take something totally off our list. So why is it important that we define ourselves well and authentically? One, it gives us peace. We feel peace when we are living in alignment. Just think about your life. When you have clarity, when you have courage, when you are doing what you know is right for you to do in that specific season and chapter of your life, you feel peace. And when we feel peace, we don't shapeshift, right? Because shape-shifting happens when we don't have clarity. And so we start to hustle for approval and validation, right? But when you are defining yourself, you attract relationships and opportunities that align with your truth, right? That align with your purpose, with your talents, and with your skills. But when we don't define ourselves and we allow other people to define us, we feel lost. We feel disconnected with our own internal infrastructure. We start to live on autopilot because we are following a script, or we are following a conditioned path, our roadmap that's not even ours. And that causes a lot of internal conflict because we know that we believe one thing, but we are living another thing. And any time when your decisions don't reflect your truth, you will live a tortured life. So I want you to really think about self-definition. Now, a good example of self-definition is when a person chooses a career that aligns with their passion, even if other people disapprove. It is when you decide who you're going to marry, even when someone else doesn't like them. It's when you decide how you believe about God, even if you were raised up in a different faith tradition, right? That's when you are defining what's important for yourself. When you don't define what's important to yourself, an example of that would be staying in a job or staying in a relationship or staying in a pattern because you are scared of disappointing others. So I want you to really think about self-definition, because self-definition is your responsibility to decide who you are. And it's a very important form of self-empowerment. The third form of self-empowerment that I want you to explore is self-determination. Self-definition is who you are. Self-determination is the power to act on your self-definition. I know they sound very close. Again, self-definition is who you are. Self-determination is the power to act on who you are. Another way of saying it is self-definition is taking control of your life and your choices and your future. It's about deciding to rise even when it's uncomfortable. It's about choosing actions over your excuses. It's about choosing to be courageous over your comfort. And self-determination, it is a daily commitment. It is a daily choice because the world will always try to pull you off course. The world will always try to make you conform and to comply by the status quo. And that's why it's so important to understand the power of self-determination. Because when you are doing self-determination well or consistently, you feel powerful. You feel like you can control the controllables. You move with intention instead of moving with reaction. You stop waiting for permission and to lead and live your own life. But when we don't do self-determination well, when we lack self-determination, we drift through life. We just react and respond instead of taking responsibility and taking action and being accountable for the lives that we want to live and to lead. And when we lack self-determination, you know what? We struggle. We struggle with follow through. We struggle with consistency. We make these choices, good choices, and then we go back on our own word. We don't even keep our own commitments to ourselves. And so I want you to think about self-determination and ask yourself, where can I step up in my own life to choose a path that really aligns with who I say I am? And a good example of that would be a person launching their own dream project despite uncertainty, a person launching a new business in the unpredictable market, a person being a part of a political cause, even though it's not popular. Those are examples of self-determination. Now, examples of when we don't do self-determination well is of someone staying stagnant and blaming everyone else for their lack of action, blaming their circumstances on others, blaming their situation, on their parents, on their marriage, on their children, right? And so we want to make sure that we are clear about our own capacity and our own responsibility to determine who we are, determine how we function, and determine to do it consistently. Now, the fourth form of self-empowerment we got to talk about is self-sabotage. Now, the other three are good forms of self-empowerment, but also we have to talk about self-sabotage, right? Because self-sabotage is when we don't step into self-empowerment. It's when we unconsciously or consciously do things that disrupt our own growth, that undermine our own happiness, that undermine our own success. And we self-sabotage out of fear, out of doubt, out of limiting beliefs. I always tell myself and tell others, when you are self-sabotaging, when you're doing things that are in total contradiction to what you want, there is an unmet need that needs to be addressed. There is some undercover drama or trauma that we need to address. Self-sabotage is a sign that you're out of alignment and that you need support or you need structure or you need a different system, right? Because self-sabotage shows up as procrastination, perfectionism, avoidance, your inner critic, negative self-talk. And self-sabotage can be fueled by fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear of success. It can be fueled by your old experiences where you felt as if you could not show up, or you felt that you were under-resourced or under-supported. But we have to recognize self-sabotage so that we can break free of it, because recognizing self-sabotage is the first step of breaking free of the way it disguises itself in our lives, right? So I want you to think about your life, because when you can overcome self-sabotage in all of the ways it shows up, it will help you with follow through on your own commitments, will help you follow through on your own dreams. You learn to trust yourself. It allows you to receive success and love and happiness and help, right? It will help you to stop making excuses so you can start making moves, because you can't make moves and make excuses at the same time. And that's why it's so important to overcome self-sabotage and be able to identify it in your behavior, right? Now, here's the challenge. If we don't overcome self-sabotage, we will continue to create unnecessary obstacles that block our own success. You will get in your own way. You will let fear run your life. You will avoid doing really what you want to do and what you really want to say. You will settle for mediocrity instead of stepping into your own greatness. You will always just be good, but you will never be elite or great at something. And so we really want to think about self-sabotage. Now, when we are good at recognizing self-sabotage, we can get ahead of it, which means that good example would be a person will accept a speaking engagement even if they feel imposter syndrome. They will know, I'm going to prepare and I'm going to be ready. That's how you overcome self-sabotage, that you prepare yourself and you do it anyway. You do it scared. But if you continue to allow yourself to be crippled by self-sabotage, you will always convince yourself that you're not ready, that you don't know enough, that you have no one to help you, that you're not pretty enough, strong enough, young enough. And you will consistently create roadblocks and cancel out opportunities in your own life. So I want you to think about these 4 forms of empowerment. Again, I want you to think about self-advocacy. How can you recognize, communicate, and claim what you want? How can you own your voice and your needs? I want you to think about self-definition. How can you decide who you are based on your truth, even if people disagree with you? How can you choose who you are? Self-definition. How can you act on who you say you are? How can you take control of your life, your choices, and your future? But also, we want to be aware of self-sabotage. How do you get in your own way, consciously or unconsciously? Because here is the truth. If you don't advocate for yourself, you will always be overlooked. If you don't define yourself, the world will do it for you. If you don't live with self-determination, you will drift instead of rise. And if you don't recognize self-sabotage, if you don't recognize it, you will always hold yourself back and blame others because you don't live a life that aligns with you. So I want you to really think about your life. I want you to think about how can you live your life on your own terms? How can you decide to soar? Because I believe the best is always yet to come when we recognize those very important 4 forms of self-empowerment or lack of self-empowerment so that we can unlock our own power, unlock our own clarity, and unlock our own peace. So let me know how you feel. Let me know how this episode lands on you. Again, all of my episodes are always based on what I'm learning in my own life, as well as what I'm learning as I engage with clients and different type of organizations. It's unscripted, it's unedited, because I believe that I want to give you information. I want to give you substance over sizzle, because that's my belief. And I want to make sure that I help people live life based on their own terms so that they can live lives of fulfillment. So let me know your thoughts. Email me at sharonjamison.com. And please, wherever you are listening, please subscribe. Also, please write me a review and share this episode with someone who you know will benefit from self-advocacy, self-definition, self-determination, or send this to someone that you know is dealing with self-sabotage. Again, thanks so much for your energy, your time. I'm so grateful that you spent this time with me. And together, let's dare to soar higher, because I believe the best is yet to come for you and for me. Thanks so much, and blessings to you always.